Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This week we're looking at super slim skyscrapers and sort of our exploration of urban habitation. These are a real sort of common thing now, I think. First they were really in dense places, Hong Kong, New York, but now there's even one now approved in Birmingham, so this is becoming a lot more of a widespread issue. So I thought I'd cover this as well. What are super slim skyscrapers and what sort of defines super slim? These are often referred to as super slim, skinny or pencil towers. This sort of new form of urban habitation is becoming more common around the world. With land in cities rising in costs and sort of the piecemeal sites that are available left over in cities, this means that smaller towers are now becoming more economically viable. So engineers and architects have had to overcome a lot of issues creating this new form of skyscraper, which we'll sort of look at. There is no universal definition for these type of super slim skyscrapers. However, some definitions highlight a 10:1 or a 12:1 ratio. That's width in comparison of width and height. So this ratio of slimness can be worked out through the width of the base compared to the height of the building. You might be wondering, where are these getting built? So the first taking their most sort of common presence in Hong Kong, with a lot of the sites there. I first discovered these were a sort of thing when I heard about the ones in New York. These super slim skyscrapers are now spreading more and more around the globe. As I said, they're even coming to places like Birmingham in the UK. This can sort of be seen as a comparison to the original skyscrapers first pioneered in the USA. Sort of the home insurance building constructed in Chicago in 1885 that deemed the first skyscraper, and this sort of style spread to the rest of the world. Take a look at some examples. So New York's 432 Park Avenue, this is probably one of the most common ones. A lot of criticism based on its design, its placement, and just its overall height and the impact of that on the surrounding area. This super slim skyscraper was the tallest residential building in the world when it originally opened. This overlooks New York's Central Park and contains 125 apartments within it. This is now the third tallest building in the US. So a lot of these with the small floor plate, you don't actually obviously you get a central core where it contains the lift shafts, but the lift shafts will often open directly into the apartments, whereas normally you have sort of a corridor or a number of apartments, but with these you often get one apartment per floor. If we want to look at some of the layouts of these, I'll sort of include some examples, but what you're getting is, this is obviously due to them being so new, they're not designed to be affordable. They're obviously high-end living for people that can afford these, often millionaires, billionaires. So these are not designed to be affordable apartments. I'll show some footage of the interiors of these. I watched a sort of a home, I got down a YouTube rabbit hole of watching this sort of realtor, and he showed round one of these and the finishes, and everything looks amazing. They've spared no expense on the materials, the design, the features, like every little nook and cranny's really been thought about, maximising the space of these floor plates. But as you can tell from the internals, they'll often have like sort of a servant's kitchen or a kitchen that can be shut off, so that are designed for hosting, and they're more of a showpiece, I think, than a home you'd actually want to live in a lot of time. Let's look at issues. So issues affecting these, as with any sort of new product, new technology, new structure, there's often quite a few teething issues with it. In terms of these, wind is often a problem for skyscrapers have to deal with. Downwind cause for them alone a serious concern. So the tallest building in Leeds caused the death of a pedestrian by its downwinds and had to have sort of fins installed because the wind was enough to push people into the street. So wind is a factor that I don't think is considered enough in skyscrapers, and sort of the urban canyon effects are sort of massive with cities like New York. So the wind also then exerts a stress on the skyscraper. Engineers have sort of designed ways to disrupt the airflow and prevent the airfall and vibration, which causes vortices. Engineers have claimed to solve these issues, however the reality of the situation we'll see in a bit is actually quite different. 432 Central Park Avenue. There's been a lot of news articles recently, I've even seen TikToks of discussing the issues this tower's facing, which is quite, if you're paying the price tags that you are paying for this building, you wouldn't expect these sort of major issues. There's been reports that residents living in 432 Central Park Avenue have experienced swaying as the tower moves, any tower will sway within winds, but they're saying this is such an extreme that it makes living in here full time quite unbearable. Residents are also complaining to developers regarding water damage. This caused $1 million worth of damage, obviously because interiors are so expensive. Any water leak is going to cause $1 million worth of damage. There's also been plumbing and mechanical issues inside these towers. There are also frequent elevator malfunctions, which, if you're living this high, it does just cause serious issues. You would not want to take the stairs down here. The walls are also said to creak like the galley of a ship due to its immense height and the sort of swaying in the wind. So it's apparently really loud when the high winds are up due to sort of wind buffeting it and creaking in the panels. So these real issues that residents are facing are really a contrast to what the developer, the CIM group, that state the tower and all their promotional materials is like this was successfully designed, constructed and virtually sold out project. Obviously, as with any marketing material, you don't see the real side of it. But it's interesting of how they're saying this is just revolutionary.
Gallery is just a prelude to this spectacular, jaw-dropping living.
Have paid these extortionate price tags for. They're just not getting the quality, and that these are obviously having major teething issues. So one resident, this is all from a New York Times article that's interviewed a few people. I'll link it below my sources. So one resident on this article claims that there have been a number of floods within the building, with 2 leaks, one in November 2018 caused by a blown flange in the plumbing system, and then 4 days later a waterline failure on the 74th floor caused water to enter the elevator shaft. This shut down 2 of the 4 residential elevators for service for weeks. Both of these floors the floods occurred on are maintenance floors that are halfway up the tower, or 3/4 way up the tower for the second one, so no apartments were featured in this leak. There also recounts in this article that civil engineers who worked on the slim skyscrapers told the New York Times that these problems are occurring at other super tall residential towers. They weren't willing to comment on which ones, and that to obviously protect the job security, but it's quite interesting that this is now, people are coming out and saying this is happening elsewhere. Another report in this article was that an elevator stopped due to high wind conditions, then trapped a resident in it for an hour and 25 minutes. Further issues include noise, with the metal partitions between the walls groan as the building sways, and a whistle is caused by rushing air in doorways and elevator shafts. Residents have complained of creaking, banging, and clicking noises in their apartment from sort of the building moving. So these issues the building has been facing has actually caused the insurance cost to increase 300% in 2 years, and that's due to the sprinkler related issue. Another factor that should be considered with super tall skyscrapers, I don't think it's a thing in the United States. In the UK we have something called the right to light, which tries to protect people's access to daylight and sunlight. So you often do tests, and it's quite contentious in a lot of city centres. Sites are now getting refused based on the existing residents losing the access to daylight and sunlight. In the US, I think New York specifically is you buy air rights, but obviously this is still causing overshadowing, and these super talls, whilst they are slender, will cause overshadowing for large parts of New York. So it's an interesting correlation you can make with all this. In the 1960s in the UK, and I think also with urban renewal in the US, high-rise developments were sort of considered the future of urban living. Traditional streets demolished and replaced with these high-rise towers. These high-rise, high-density flats were a way of rebuilding after the Second World War and a way of slum clearance. Poor quality construction in these actually led to issues of broken elevators, unsafe conditions, alongside damp in the towers, with many residents missing their obviously former homes on street level and felt isolated in these towers. These same issues are now becoming relevant again with the new high-rise construction once again, but this time it's quite interesting to see that this is now billionaires, the top end of the market, are buying these towers and experiencing the same issues. It's just quite an interesting comparison to draw to sort of these urban renewal and regeneration projects, that it's almost like history repeating itself. This does raise a question of, are these sort of towers novelty for investments and sort of just putting money into real estate, or are they actually really suitable for long-term human habitation? A lot of these Central Park towers are bought by people as second homes or a holiday home. They're not fully lived in all the time. So yeah, I thought I'd just cover this sort of issue that's come out. I think it's come out past a few years, but it's interesting to see what will happen with this sort of rise of super slim skyscrapers. Will they continue to be a thing, or are they a fad that's going to drop off? But yeah, thanks for watching.